Okay.
Sup guys, it's Alex here and welcome to the 2021 NCAA Tournament predictions. It has been too long since I have done these predictions, back in 2019 and last year getting canceled right as the tournament was getting ready to get kicked off. But now we are here. The tournament bracket has been released and it is time to make the predictions for it. It has been a wild year. A couple things I want to note: that if a team has COVID issues, there are 4 replacement teams on standby to immediately take their place, but it has to be known by Tuesday of this week, or else their opponent would just get an uncontested win and move on to the next round. So Louisville is the first team out, so they will be the first team on standby. Then there's also Colorado State. I can't remember who the third team is. St. Louis, and then the fourth team is Ole Miss. So that's just something to keep in mind. But man, this season, I'm so glad we made it here. There were questions at the beginning of the season if we were even going to be able to make it through, but finally now there's vaccines and stuff going on. Even fans at the tournament, it's all going to be held within the state of Indiana. So it's just going to be really interesting to see what happens. I may end up going to a game, might even bring JRed52. We'll see what happens. A shout out to him there, but we'll just kind of see what happens with that, see how expensive prices are and just the way that schedules work out. But it is finally time to go ahead and start with the predictions here. So we are going to start up here in the top left region with Gonzaga, obviously moving on past the winner of Appalachian State and Norfolk State. I'm sure that Michigan fans are happy that Appalachian State isn't matched up with them. A little shout out there to the old upset in college football from back in 2007. But then Oklahoma and Missouri, 2 teams that kind of struggled on the way to the finish line of the season. I'm going to go with a slight upset here, the first one of the tournament in Missouri here, moving on past Oklahoma, though that one is a complete 50-50 matchup for me. And then I'm going to go with my first big upset here. I am going to go with the Guachos of UC Santa Barbara. This team, I think, is 22-4. This is one of those teams I have been keeping my eye on as a potential Cinderella team in the tournament. I love UC Santa Barbara here, especially with Creighton having a little bit of issues getting blown out by Georgetown in the Big East Championship yesterday, just with the issues with their coach and a little couple of racist things that he said, but hopefully that's behind him at this point. But either way, UC Santa Barbara's pulling off the upset there. Then we are going to have Virginia moving on past Ohio. USC making it in here, the first 4 matchup of Wichita State and Drake. I was surprised Wichita State made it in. They were the first team out in Joe Lenardi's bracketology, but I think that Wichita State would beat Drake here in the first round. Drake just has too many injury issues right now within that program, but then I do think that USC will beat Wichita State here to move on to the second round. And then we'll have Kansas moving on past Eastern Washington. Then I'm going to go with another upset pick here with VCU moving on past Oregon. Bones Highland is fantastic for VCU. Gave St. Bonaventure a run for their money. I think this one's another 50-50 toss-up, but I believe in VCU to upset Oregon there. And then we're going to go with Iowa moving past Grand Canyon. So then if we go over here to Region 2 moving on, we're going to go with Baylor past Hartford, North Carolina past Wisconsin. Well, that's another great 8 versus 9 game right there. We're going to go with Winthrop pulling off another double-digit seed upset with 12-5. Villanova was a potential national championship contender, but their top senior guard in Colin Gillespie is out for the year with an injury. He was tied for the Big East Player of the Year, but not having him there, then they're also missing Justin Moore. So 2 starters on that team are down for the year. They are shorthanded, and I think Winthrop, with only 1 loss on the year, have the potential to pull off the 12-5 upset. Then we're going to go with Purdue here, moving on past North Texas. Texas Tech beating Utah State. Utah State was a surprise team. They were right on the bubble, right on the cut line, I thought. But then it apparently looks like they were in the last 4 bye section. They don't even have to play in the playing game. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech, though, moving on there. I just love this team as a potential sleeper. And they will face Arkansas. I think that this has a potential to be a potential first-round upset. A huge upset with Colgate upsetting Arkansas. Colgate only has the 1 loss on the year, the Fighting Toothpaste. But I don't think it is going to happen. Arkansas is just too good right now, too hot of a team. But then we are going to have Florida here moving on past Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had a bit of COVID issues with their program, but they made it back in time for the ACC tournament to get beat by, I can't remember who they got beat. I think they got beat by Florida State, or no, they got beat by North Carolina, that's right. But I am still going to go with Florida here, moving on to the second round, along with Ohio State beating Oral Roberts. So if we go down here to Region 3, we are going to have Illinois. They just won the Big Ten Championship about 45 minutes ago, right before the selection show kicked off. Then this right here, I think, is the first round game of the tournament. the Loyola Chicago, the Fighting Sister Jeans, versus the ACC champions in Georgia Tech. This one's a complete toss-up to me. I really want to pick Loyola Chicago to move on here, but I got to go with the hot hand of Georgia Tech. It's going to be a great battle down low between Cameron Krutwig for Loyola Chicago and then Moses Wright from Georgia Tech, but I think that Georgia Tech is just too hot right now. They have too great of a supporting cast with Alvarado in there as well. They pull off the 9/8 upset. And then speaking of upsets, we are going with another 12/5. So all three 12/5 so far at this point in the video. We are going with Oregon State. They went on a huge upset run throughout their conference tournament. Heck, back in January, they were plus 100,000 to even win the Pac-12 tournament. So congratulations if you are better who bet Oregon State to win at that point. But I'm going to go with them in a battle of the orange teams there. They're just riding hot right now. Fulkerson for Tennessee. I don't know if he's going to be back in time for the NCAA tournament. He got injured against Florida. So, yeah, that's just an upset pick that I have. Then I'm going to go with Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham, the potential #1 pick in the draft here, moving on past Liberty. Then San Diego State moving on past Syracuse for a spot in the second round in a 6/11 victory. Then West Virginia beating Morehead State. Morehead State, they've won 19 out of 20 games, but I just don't think that's going to be enough against West Virginia. Then Clemson versus Rutgers. Rutgers, a team that I absolutely loved back in January when they were projected to be at a 3 or 4 seed. They struggled here near the finish line, but so has Clemson. And I want to give a quick shout out to Aiden Terry over there on that Rutgers team. He's a walk-on for that program back from our high school. We played soccer together, so Aiden Terry, that is a guy you need to watch out for if he ever gets on the court for Rutgers. But speaking of Rutgers, I'm going to go with them. They got Geo Baker. They got Ron Harper. They are moving on to the second round where they will face Houston here, moving on past Cleveland State. Then for a spot over here in the second round of Region 4, we have Michigan moving on past the winner of Mount St. Mary's and Texas Southern. That one obviously doesn't matter. LSU and St. Bonaventure, I'm going to go with LSU here moving on. Cameron Thomas, that team looked really impressive in the SEC tournament, especially in the championship game against Alabama. St. Bonaventure, obviously, 16-4, winning the A-10 championship. They are a great team too. Another fantastic first-round matchup, but I just like LSU in that one. Then we're going to have Colorado here moving on past Georgetown. Florida State moving on past UNC Greensboro, along with Michigan State, I think would be Michigan State would be UCLA. And then you know what? I'm going to go with another upset pick here. I am going to go with Michigan State winning past UCLA, upsetting BYU here 11/6. I think Tom Izzo's done a great job in turning their season around. Heck, they beat Michigan, they beat Illinois, they beat Ohio State, 3 teams who are all in the top 2 seed lines. I think they can do it right there. Then we're going to go with Texas here, moving on past Abilene Christian. Connecticut, one of the hottest teams in the nation right now, lost to that hot Georgetown team. I know I kind of gave a little demerit or whatever to Creighton for that loss. Connecticut also lost to them, but I believe that I think Connecticut lost to Creighton. I don't know either way, but either way, I think they're going to beat Maryland, and then we're going to have Alabama here moving on past the Fighting Rick Pitino's of Iona. Congratulations to Iona for making it there. So that is our first round here. So we are going to scroll back up here and start moving on to the Sweet 16. We are having Gonzaga here moving on past Missouri. Gonzaga past Missouri into the Sweet 16, a 1-9 matchup. Then, as much as I want to pick the Guachos of UC Santa Barbara, we are moving on with Virginia to the Sweet 16 in a 4-12 victory, along with Kansas here moving on past USC. I think the battle between Evan Mobley and David McCormick would be fantastic to watch, but obviously Kansas has the better players from that point on. And then VCU and Iowa, as much as I want to pick VCU to upset Iowa there, that would be a fantastic upset to watch. I got to go with Iowa with the National Player of the Year and Luka Garza here moving on to the Sweet 16. Then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we have Gonzaga moving on past Virginia into the Elite Eight. I think Gonzaga is fantastic this year. Obviously, they're undefeated at this point in the year, and they are going to face Iowa, the Fighting Hawkeyes of Iowa. They are going to move on to the Elite Eight. And then, actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave it right there. I think I advanced a little bit too far. I was going to go with the Sweet 16, but we'll just kind of go with the flow here. Over in Region 2, Baylor, North Carolina, that would be a fantastic matchup to watch. I think North Carolina could pull off the upset there, but I'm going to go with the team that's only lost twice this year, and Baylor, and the potential, I think, third in the Player of the Year voting, and Jared Butler. Then I'm going to go with Purdue and Travion Williams here, moving on past Winthrop, as much as I want to pick Winthrop to pull off the upset there just to see a Cinderella team going. Then Arkansas and Texas Tech. These two teams, I absolutely love them both. As much as I want to pick Mac McClung and Texas Tech here moving on, I got to go with Arkansas. This team has been too hot recently, and I think that they can make the Sweet 16. And then we're going to go with Ohio State here beating Florida. Two teams that have been fantastic in football historically. I mean, heck, Florida's been fantastic in basketball historically. They won 2 back-to-back championships a couple of decades ago. But then I think that Ohio State has just been playing on another level than Florida State this year. So then we're going to have Baylor here moving on to the Elite Eight, past Purdue. I think that team is fantastic this year, obviously. And then we're going to go with an upset pick here. We're going to go with Arkansas, the 3-2 victory over Ohio State. Ohio State played great in the Big Ten championship against Illinois, but it's not going to be enough against Arkansas, which sets up Baylor and Arkansas here. And you guys got to wait to see who I have moving on. So then over here in Region 3, Illinois will be moving on past Georgia Tech, a battle of the two major conference or Power 6 conference winners right there. And then we're going to go with Oklahoma State past Oregon State in a battle of orange teams yet again with Cade Cunningham. Then we're also going to have West Virginia here moving on past San Diego State, along with Houston moving on past Rutgers. Those two matchups there I think would be great matchups to watch, but I just don't see the underdogs winning in either San Diego State or Rutgers. Then Illinois versus Oklahoma State. You guys know I wanted to have Oklahoma State in my Final Four, but they got paired up in Illinois' region. That is so disappointing for me to have that matchup in the Sweet 16 instead of potentially the Final Four national championship game. I love Oklahoma State, but it's just not going to happen. Illinois is just too much of a better team. They are moving on to the Elite Eight over Oklahoma State. And then we're going to go with West Virginia here, getting another 3-2 victory over Houston. West Virginia, one of those fantastic teams this year with Bob Huggins finally getting another Elite Eight run. West Virginia will beat Houston. So then over here in Region 4, I'm going with the huge upset here. I'm doing it. We have 8 seed LSU pulling off the huge upset over 1 seed Michigan. Michigan struggling right now. They only lost to Ohio State by 1 in the Big Ten semifinals, but they have kind of been sputtering a little bit here to the end of the season. They just lost to Michigan State. They lost Isaiah Livers to injury. Not sure if he's going to be back in time for the tournament, but I'm assuming probably not. They said indefinitely. But LSU has been on fire recently with Javonte Smart, with Cameron Thomas, with Trendon Wofford, who had a career high in that SEC championship game. I'm going to go with a hot shooting team in LSU. And I know that's going to be controversial because I have a lot of Michigan fans who watch my videos, but LSU is my very big controversial pick here, moving on to the Sweet 16 over Michigan. Then we are going to go with Florida State moving on past Colorado, Texas moving on past Michigan State, though that'd be a fantastic game to watch right there, Texas and Michigan State. And then I'm going to go with another upset pick here. I have chaos reigning in this lower right region, Region 4, with Connecticut moving on past Alabama. Now I know Alabama did just win the SEC championship, and to have the semifinal or the runners-up in LSU moving on in this region with Alabama is going to make a lot of Alabama fans mad. But I love Connecticut. They were super hot heading into the Big East Championship, and I think that run is going to continue. And Connecticut's known for making huge runs in the NCAA Tournament as a lower seed whenever they won the championship. I think as a 7 or 8 seed with Shabazz Napier back in like 2014, I believe it was. But yeah, I have Connecticut here moving on past Alabama. If Alabama's three-point shooting goes cold, they are going to struggle. So then for a spot in the Elite Eight, we will have LSU falling to Florida State here. I do think Florida State, no, they did just lose to Notre Dame and then lost to Georgia Tech in the ACC Finals. But I believe in that team to make the Elite Eight here as an 8 seed, where they will face Connecticut. I have Connecticut making a surprise run to the Elite Eight as a 7 seed. That may come back to bite me, but it's all about bold predictions here, and chaos is going to reign in this tournament, especially with no real home court advantage with the different seeds in all the different regions across the country. So we have Florida State and Connecticut here in Region 4. But then for a spot in the Final Four, we are going to bring in Gonzaga from Region 1. I think that team is on fire. I believe these two teams played earlier this year, and Gonzaga won by, I think, 6 or 7, something like that. I think it'd be a fantastic matchup, but I have Gonzaga advancing to the Final Four. I also have, I'm so torn here between Baylor and Arkansas for a spot in the Final Four, but I am going to go with Arkansas, one of the hottest teams in the nation. They had won 11 out of 12 heading into that loss to LSU in the SEC semifinals. I know that one's going to be another controversial pick. I mean, heck, Arkansas could lose at any point in that tournament, but it's just a team I believe in. Baylor, I think, obviously has the best chance of making the Final Four out of this region, but there's going to be chaos in this tournament, and I think that's going to be where it happens. Then we're going to have Illinois here moving on past West Virginia. You guys know how much I believe in Illinois. I think that they can stifle West Virginia. And then for a spot in the other side of the region, we are having Florida State advancing past Connecticut and ending Connecticut's run there. Now, I know having Florida State here in the Final Four is going to be a really controversial opinion, especially when that region includes Michigan, when it includes SEC champions in Alabama, when it has the Big 12 champions in Texas, and it's just going to be crazy to see the A-10 champions in St. Bonaventure and to have Florida State come out of it. Maybe controversial, but I'm all about that controversy life. I have them advancing to the Final Four here in my predictions video. But for a spot in the national championship, we have Gonzaga advancing past Florida State. Florida State lost to Gonzaga, I think, back in 2018, 2019. I think Florida State might have won. I don't remember. It was one of those regions. Whoever's getting revenge there. But I have Gonzaga advancing past Florida State. That Jalen Suggs, Drew Timme, Corey Kispert, that's just going to be too much for Florida State to overcome. But they are going to face the Fighting Illini of Illinois here, moving on past Arkansas. And so we are going to have 1 seed Gonzaga versus 1 seed Illinois in the national championship game. But before I do, I have to point you guys over to Pickswise.com here. You go to Pickswise.com/March-Madness. They have expert betting picks here from expert handicappers. I'll even be writing an article about my champion who I will be predicting here in a couple seconds. So make sure you check out Pickswise in order to bet better, learn more, and it's just a great site to gain some insight over your fellow Bracket Challenge members. So now let's go ahead and get back into my NCAA tournament predictions, where I will have the Fighting Illini of Illinois. Iota Nsumu, Kofi Coburn, that team is just so fantastic to watch. They have won 14 out of their last 15 games. Obviously, they're a really hot team. Even if Nsumu was to miss a game or something like that, they went and destroyed Michigan, I think, by like 22 or 23 points. This team, I think, is the best team in college basketball, if not the best team. If they're not the best team, then it's Gonzaga. But I think on this night, Gonzaga versus Illinois, if I had to choose between the two, I would pick Illinois. So I have Illinois as my champion. Have a ton of upsets throughout. I know it's going to be controversial, especially over there in Region 4, where it's just upset city over there in that region. So yeah, I had a really fun time making these videos, making these picks even. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions. I'm sure I'm going to be hearing it in the comment section from a ton of different fans, but I absolutely love to see it. Let me know your own predictions over there in the comment section. I'd love to see what you guys think and what your predictions are. Be on the lookout for my tournament challenge video that will be coming out tomorrow, where you can join my tournament challenge video, or my tournament challenge group. The winner will be getting a shout out video. And then I'll also be doing an NCAA Basketball 10 simulation of the entire tournament, 63 games over the course of the month, culminating on the last day before the actual national championship game. So that one's going to take a lot of time to record and make, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you're subscribed with post notifications turned on for that. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of my predictions and all that fun stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.